너무 익숙한 자리예요. That was Korean for I got very comfortable for doing life that I just never think for the anxiety anymore. But today I want to share something that was just like in the back of my mind. Like I always think about what is the worst case scenario of this mission, this lifetime. And I get to at the worst of the worst scenario is that I got a cancer and then I die. Because I've been really lazy to take care of myself that my tonsil just like acting up, and then I get to a point where I need a surgery, and then even after that it took me a while to find out how to take care of myself so that I don't ended up getting sick that often. And it worked. I found a way. Sadly speaking, is that my parents doesn't even know how to take care of themselves. And therefore I get the experience to never care about myself in the way that they are. And that's usually what happened in this house is that you get something and then you just use that to whatever however you want, and you never get to repair it, you never get to heal it in the first place, and then everything just go down after that. It's the same thing with the things that we bought. I mean, like I never seen my parents to be like in repair season. Like they just buy something, they use it. They didn't even like taking care of it. Just like put it there. And I'm like, I was just thinking back in my head. I was like, why are they just always do this? Like they never take care of things. And I think like in this house, it's like becoming my job to take care of things. And I found a way, okay, we need to take care of it this way, we can do. But I'm like, I'm so tired that I just don't want to do it for them. I'm just going to do it for myself. And I found a way that you can actually have less damage if you just know how to take care of yourself. Luckily, I found a way to take care of my body, but in the process of taking care of myself, there are things that I need support, and that's why like it's such a bind. And I thought about it today, like what is the worst thing that can happen to me if I have my journey in such a twisted way? Because I started in such a twisted way, and I feel like it possibly it can become twisted by the end of the journey. But I'm like, what could possibly happen there? And I thought about it because my mission requires me to use my voice, and this section of my body is actually really fucked up. If if I didn't take care of myself well, then this one here is like the first thing that is going to take the hit. And I already had surgery just to take out the tonsil, and that tonsil is actually not really problematic. The problem is that the hormones that was, I don't know what tonsil do, but the moment my tonsil hurt, like it damaged in some way, everything else come accordingly. I can't move, my body's sore, and then just like I got my temperature rise. What do you call it? Temper? No, fever. You get a fever and all that stuff. So that's one of the things. And I feel like the worst thing if I use my voice wrong, because my mission requires me to use my voice. By the time I twisted the energetic of my communication, the cells, the cancerous cells, began to develop at that point. Because when you get some really serious disease, it's not just your physical thing. When something get really serious, sometimes your mentality also play in the creation of that cancerous cells. So some people on Earth maybe may have lived in such a dangerous environment, and therefore they got the cancerous thing. But there are actually not human, but other things like plants or animal that lived in such a dangerous space, but eventually they adapt to that space. But I also heard there was a tribe that was living near some nuclear space, and they developed such a immunity towards that dangerous environment. So that's also can play a thing. If you know that you can sustain no matter how hard the thing in your body, you can win it. There's also a story about, I think, like a grandma having grown something that was just looks so weird. At the glance, you can see like this is weird. Is this cancer? Nobody knows. Later on, she got into a surgery. They found out that it actually a baby that was never born and eventually become a stone in her body. She was fine. So the creation of a really dangerous disease come in such a factors that compiles everything that eventually something really bad happened. Now, the first barrier to it is your physical body is healthy. The second barrier to it is your mentality, your mind, your personality, and all that stuff is not twisted in a way that you know how to work with whatever it is that you are experiencing. And that plays a bigger role rather than just depend on your physical health. Now, the third is that the lever to your spirituality, meaning that understanding that this life is not just your physical, it's not just your spiritual, but also like the connection between all of the things that is here. And in that sense, this connection can help you to get some information about what is the thing that can help you clear this thing. Because if you know that you have something really bad, you can actually instantly heal it if you know the source of the problem. But the thing is that sometimes even when people know the source of the problem, they wouldn't go to fix it because of the emotional baggage that thing carries. Just like me, my relationship with my parents is so twisted that I'm like, is there something that I can get my mind like 100% into solving this situation? I just found out what that is this morning. I don't know if I really want to go into that route yet, but I will like build my first barrier first I will build the barrier first before I go into that. But the thing is that I don't know if they're gonna die first or I'm going to get what I need first. It's like a battle of time. So maybe we will wait about that. But the thing about what I'm really afraid of getting at the end of this journey is that I might get cancer in my throat, in my voice in this area because of just how twisted it becomes. It's apparent to me that that is the highest possibility that could happen if I somehow using my communication skills in a wrong way. Maybe I manipulate others, maybe I do something that can contribute to that, maybe I never get to solve the problem that I have, conflict, whatever that is, that eventually compound this hatred, this energetic that was so twisted, that's destroying the cell's ability to heal. Because you can heal no matter how bad your thing, your disease, your whatever it is you're experiencing. And I want to share this because it's very powerful in the support of healing your disease in the energetic society, in the energetic mindset. The first thing is that you know that you have the solution. And having this is like trusting the universe, loving whatever however you are currently, and knowing that I will get to the point where I would find that thing that would help me clear this. That trust, that love can expand you in such a way that eventually you open the doors to many other solutions that can help you. Now, in the meditation, there is this exercise that can help you increase your level of trust and love, which is knowing how to feel that without essentially doing anything for it. And I love this idea because you don't need any jinx to eventually get it. You just like in it, because this is energetic. You don't need to do things to get into something else, because the remembrance of the spirit will always lead you to this thing that is the foundation of the spirit world, which is love and trust. And I have an experience. I have a moment in my life where I literally like lost all the love and trust, and I'm just falling deeper into sorrow, into the darkness of this world. And eventually I lost the ability to love and trust, and I try to get it back. I try to rebuild the level that I know, and I get to a point where let's learn again how to be in that state. I use the meditation. I sit still. I go into the deep breathing method and all that stuff, and I get to notice that, oh, okay, this is the space of the spirit that connected to my physical, that I can tune into, that I can like focus into, that eventually will lead me into trust and love. Like the gate for that is actually in my body, and I know how to tap into it without getting into the breathing method, without getting into the meditation, because I just remember it. No, it's not something that I automatically do. It's not something that I used to automatically do, but eventually I get to learn it, because I'm like, oh, could be some problem in the future, so I need to solve it now. And I found a way, and then like, oh, this is how it feels. And I get to see myself, I think I got it now. And because I know how this love and trust feels like, I get to speed up the process without needing the method to do it. And with this tool, love and trust frequency, I can like let myself receive the solution, receive the pull to go into some solution that I can try in here, in here, in here. And that in itself will ask every other cells in my body to light up, to expand their own space to move, and eventually work together with everything that I have, which the cells is just another being, if you think about it. Because in spiritual world, your spirit is bigger than your body, and your body lives inside the spirit. So when you can hold the frequency of love and trust, your cells get that feeding time. Meaning, like, if we think about it as a planet like Earth, the love and trust frequency feels like air, because it fills the room, it let you breathe, and you get to move between spaces because there is that dimension between it. And that's what I see. And when you can like let your love and trust guide your cells to work and be free and let them heal themselves, because we have that default. Our healing system doesn't require anything to turn on. They just always is. But the problem is that we planted the seed of doubt and fear to stop the process or block or pause. So the buffering state comes from that energy. So when you start to expect that something will come and help you because of the trust that you have turning on, then you are confirmed to receive it. And that's like what I thought today, is that I could get a cancer by the end of this journey, and that's how I die. But also, like, if I decide to, let's not have this, and I work my ass off to find how to cure this, and I work in a spiritual world, I work with the medical system and all this stuff, and just let the thing work for me because I expect it to work, then it will. And this is like what I talk about a live stream ago, is that in order to have a future, you need to set some kind of expectation of what that future will be. Meaning, like, I'm here as a 20 years. I think this is not the example that I gave at the old live stream, but I will say it differently. Is that I expect myself to, oh yeah, I cannot remember it. I expect myself to get all the money that I want. But if I didn't have the capacity to not process, manage my money, then there are some blocks that I need to solve before I get into that point. And that's why, like, I get into this moment of, let's know how to manage our money. And I found a way, I found the dreams, I found the channel to eventually let the money flow comes in and go. And that's how I build the momentum of, I know how I will get my money, and I will know how I will use my money. That channel is very important in the creation of your future, because you know then it's the truth, it's possible. And you are getting into a timeline where you can picture yourself in that reality. And eventually when you are there, you kind of like in disbelief, because I have thought about this before. I have thought that I would be in this kind of situation, and now that I am in the future. And that's the same with this thing, is that you build such opening that when things can lead into a terrible timeline, you know what to do. And that's what I'm doing today, is that, okay, that can happen. That story can happen, but also, like, we also know how to not make that happen, just by living truthfully. I didn't know that I can be really transparent about what I lied about in the journey of my past 20 years. But I did say that I was lying in the process of learning, and that's true. But that thing is not something that I can reveal, because it connected to the people that I work with, and that person never, I hope they will never get to know why I did such a thing. But if they do, they will have the same experience as that I am a scammer. Because I never told them anyone. I never come clean about that experience because it's a lie. So when you build your reputation around that, you will have consequences. And I understand that. That's why like I never come clean about it. But then I got what I need. And I can come clean, but also like so I have never learned how to be as transparent about that. Maybe something that I can work later, but yeah. But I never lie once in this live stream because of how this fear of like I might get cancer because of that. Because I know the consequences of this energetically. Because this is such a habit that I built around whatever I do in life. Is that I'm here on a mission, and at some point I can't lie, but I can hide why I lie, what I lie, and I will reveal that truth. I will reveal it in my offers because it is personal. It probably would never make sense unless I tell you the whole shit. That's why like I can I can I can hide it instead of lying. I think that's like the biggest lesson in being transparent is that some things are never said in such a plain way because the story itself is so twisted, or maybe like someone out there have this big pride about themselves, and the moment they say something else, it brings them down. That can also be a possibility, but that's not why I didn't say the truth. My thing is because if I say that this one is the lie, then I need to tell the whole story of why I did such a thing, why I did such a thing, and there will be some parts that doesn't make sense because that part is actually connected to this, and then I need to say it in this way, in this way, in this way, in this way. So the bubble gets bigger because of that lie. But yeah, but I never have that big problem with my physical body. It's just that sometimes my body behave weirdly, and I notice that because I'm so sensitive in discomfort that I just can't handle it, and then I go straight away to fix it. That's most of the time how I support myself, is that I feel really weird. I don't know why I feel weird. Then I go on and I feel something. And I feel something really disturbing about my physical body, and eventually I get to solve the thing, which took me like a really long time. But that's the thing, like with physical health, is that at some point you will experience more and more problem the more you think about the problem. And that's why like the spiritual will help you release the tension, help you see how you can take a break and all that stuff, because that's really important. Like the spiritual, your spirit will know how, when you need to take the action, when not to. This is like emotional spiritual thing because it requires you to know how you feel, requires you to know what is available within yourself and your environment, and then you get to work with that and found the solution. I just got here, I'm confused. Not a lie, just withholding, keep the mystery. Yeah, that's why. I about the lie is that I don't expect you to understand this because this is um, part of the journey. But yeah, would I be scared if people know I'm lying? Of course I am. Because I will tell them that, okay, this person is capable of lying, and therefore, like, I can't really trust this person. And also, like, in the death and the bloody game Korean TV show, there was so many betrayals, cheating, lying, and all that stuff. And I'm like, sounds like life. That's just life. So I the reason I take the live stream early is because I need to do something heavy today, and I don't think I can do it after I go do the things that I need to do. And I just take the burden off of my chest and just do it early. And that thing is what is the title of this live stream? And the cancer is just coming up, and I'm like, this is really interesting to talk about because I'm the person who would think every possible ways and know how to solve that problem. So I would never be in the space of confusion because I already expect that can be one of the possibility of my timeline. There was a timeline, which is one of the possibility. I used to have a neighbor, and this neighbor have a child, and that child is like somewhat have a crush on me, but I know that at some point I don't feel comfortable with this person. And at one point I enter a timeline where it's really horrendous. Like I lived a life of really what do you call it, soap opera kind of thing. And I'm like, I can't believe I have that timeline, and I see the whole shit, like it come with this and come with this and come with this, and I'm like, I feel so devastated. And then I just never accept this person approach because of that, because I know how bad it can be. And I'm just eventually said, I don't know, I don't like you. And then I just go away. But at one point, I become curious about why is this person liking me so much? Like I never be the person who ask about those things because I never interested to the person itself. So I'm like, that's interesting, but like if I say something, it will come across like giving an opportunity to this guy. So I also doesn't want to take that risk, and therefore I never asked him about anything. That was a timeline that I divert from because I don't want to have that kind of life. But now that we are here, there are some timelines that I already foresee. And one of the timelines is really weird because I was in my 80s and I was in this house, but I see all those neons are kind of like in the futuristic style. And I'm like, at the time, Indonesia still with the capital of Jakarta. So there is no news about the moving of the capital city. But then I'm like thinking about it. It's possible that I see those neons because of the capital change. And weirdly speaking, a couple of years later, there's a news about the capital change. And I'm like, that's weird. And that's what like I anticipated. Kind of like if there is a chance in my 80s that I would face a possible exit, and if I able to like not block it, just like release those tension in my 80s, then I would probably live over 100. Other timelines, sometimes like I get a weird feeling around something like when I get into school, and that's also like how I use my foresight is I'm using the dreams, the insight, the word from my spirit teams to um what is the word, like getting away from the worst possible timeline. And now that we are here with this unhealthy voice, vocal, and I think I almost there, like getting clear from this worst timeline. Because if I don't clear this, I would probably got cancer. So that's all I got to know. And I'm like, the more I know the worst thing, the more afraid I'm feeling. And also like why I want to talk about this, because I lately have such a heavy fear around what if I just got into a really terrible timeline and then my whole life will fucked up because of that. What if? One of the reason is because so one of why I didn't like some tools that can predict something, just like my psychic gift, is that you get into a fear state too often. It breaks your focus, it breaks whatever faith you have, and eventually you fall into despair because you can't find a way to solve it, because it just emotional baggage. You never get to be free because of it. And this guy, Gary the numbers guy, I got too deep into his stuff that I can see so many bubbles that can become can be mines in my timeline. Like I fall deeper and then just like not really feel great about anything. And his tonality in his work is really sarcastic, really plainly speaking mean, but that's just how he talks. And I'm like, if I don't like him, I would not stay. But there are things that is aligned with his information and when with my realities. My realities means what I got to know and also like what I knew all along. So that's why like I still stay. But because I'm so deep in his information, I'm like there are parts of my story that could be seen as what he said, manipulative. And I'm like, I don't want to be seen manipulative, but the softer way of saying manipulative is actually persuasive. So do I actually want to be called like that? But also like if I so this is the fear. If I work in my on my mission with the things that I already know, and then I come across as someone said like that, I will probably feel so devastated because that's not what I feel. That's not how I'm doing. But some people out there, yeah, some people out there would have such a really negative experience about someone just because duality exists in this reality and you cannot diminish that. It's just part of the blueprint. Like this earth, this version of earth is built upon duality that will never cease to exist. If it does, by some point in life, it means that this earth is die. It ends because the blueprint set it to be that way. So we are here to work with so many different perspective, cultures, habit, thought, timeline, and that's what we are here for. That's the problem. So at one point I'm ready to receive all the abundance, but at one point there that abundance comes with its duality, and I can't force people to just believe the good thing about me. Other people will say like this person is actually stupid. Why would you go for 20 years just to get into this? I already expect that. I myself believe that point. But then also like that doesn't mean I'm not gonna do what I'm here for. Just like that guy, the numbers guy. Because I also have a really dual opinion about him because he's like really good at getting into the practicality of his information, but he's really mean in saying it. So don't fall into the emotional state of how he said it. Instead, just use what is he saying, what he's saying about the things that he found. It's really hard to stay in his world, but I get to be so good at this thing. It being this, what is the word? What is the word? At discerning what he's doing. And he doesn't mean anything bad. It's just that the way he said it is so mean. And I feel like if you can be immune to such a level, nothing will get you because you already anticipate it. You already dwell in that kind of world. That's part of the things that I learned from him. But yeah. And it's not like I'm not here with fear, but I get to manage it knowing where I'm going, and also like knowing that I have never lied, which is a good thing. But yeah. And that in itself proving what I'm saying. We can't really like stay in one thing, in one side of the story. It will grow different. It will be different considering what exactly is happening within each person's mind. Which is like you have to accept it. Some point it always stems into like trust and love about what you do. If you have a faith in whatever you're doing, then you will receive what you need. That's all. And also like I'm really interested to get into his world. Even though I know he's so mean in the way he speak, I'm just like I still want to get into his world because until 2050, duality will still be the most prominent, the most obvious thing that this world still experience. And in order to still play the game of duality, you need to have so many, what do you call it? It's not solution, it's like just like counterattack. You need to know how to counter every possible worst way. And I think like he has something that I don't know, which is the financial, which is part of this world. Because I feel like I don't know why, but he said something along, I will go forth to be the next president of America. And I'm like, you will? This so brave, so bold. But I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he will not, because I because 2055, he said something around that year. He will begin his downfall. So I don't know. It's a weird experience. Maybe no emotions elicit change in a person. I got no idea what you're talking, man. Emotion elicit change in a person. Okay, he talking to. Maybe. Probably. My team just told me to speak about something, but I don't want to, because that thing will lead into the things that I just said I don't want to explicitly say or share to you, because I just want to share it in my offer. So yeah. So thank you for watching. This is an early live stream for the day. and I will see you tomorrow.